In this video clip, I will introduce B2B, B2C, and ethical and legal issues in e-commerce. In the business to consumer or B2C, electronic commerce or e-commerce, companies can sell either product or service to customers. We will first talk about how companies can sell products to customers, and then we will discuss how companies can sell service to customers or provide service to customers. First, we'll introduce the two basic mechanisms that customers use to access companies that sell products over the internet, which are electronic storefronts and electronic malls. As we introduced in the previous section, e-storefront is a website that represents a single store, and e-mall is the collection of individual shops grouped under a single internet address. There are two types of electronic mall or e-mall. The first type is called referral malls, where you cannot purchase anything directly. You are transferred from the mall to a participating storefront. For the second type, you can actually make a purchase there. This kind of e-mall gather items from various vendors and pay for all in a single transaction. The mall organizer, such as Google, takes a commission from the sellers for this service. Okay, here we can relate this kind of e-mall to our SA2, which is two-sided market, and think about the pricing strategies here. For example, Google connects buyers and sellers, and they charge for sellers but not buyers. In addition to purchase products on e-storefronts and e-malls, customers can also access needed services through websites. One of the key aspects of an online service industry is what we call disintermediation, which is cutting out the middlemen who provide information or value-added services. There are different types of online service, including cyber banking, which involves conducting various banking activities from home, at a place of business, or on the road instead of at a physical bank location. Online securities trading, which includes stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments. Online job markets such as LinkedIn.com, travel services such as Expedia.com, Priceline.com, Hotel.com, so on and so forth, and online advertising such as pay-per-click on Google Ads. Okay, next I would like to talk about a few different types of online advertising methods. The most common online advertising methods are banners, pop-up ads, including pop-up ads and pop-under ads, and email. However, there is a potential for misuse of email advertising. Here, we will introduce spamming, which is the indiscriminate distribution of electronic ads without the permission of the receiver. There are two important responses to spamming, which are permission marketing, that asks consumers to give their permission to voluntarily accept online advertising, and email. And we have viral marketing, which is online word-of-mouth marketing by forwarding messages to friends, family members, and other acquaintances, suggesting they check this out. Next, let's take a look at the issues in B2C or e-tailing. For example, channel conflict. There are different channels to reach a customer. You can go brick and mortar, you can go electronic, you can also do partial digital and partial physical. So companies may face with their regular distributors when they sell directly to customers online. But most of the time, companies do multi-channel these days, which means companies are integrating their online and offline channels. In other words, companies need to make sure that their stores and their websites are linked tightly. Okay, next we'll move to talk about business to business or B2B e-commerce. In B2B e-commerce, the buyers and sellers are both business organizations. There is about 85% of e-commerce volume comes from B2B. There are three major B2B business models: sell-side marketplaces, buy-side marketplaces, and electronic exchanges. We'll talk about each model in the next few slides. In the sell-side marketplace, organizations attempt to sell their products or services to other organizations electronically from their own private e-marketplace website and or from a third-party website. This model is especially powerful for companies with very good reputations, such as Dell or IBM. Sell-side marketplaces use forward auction and e-catalogs. Different from the sell-side marketplace, in the buy-side marketplace, organizations attempt to procure needed products or services from other organizations electronically. This model uses reverse auction and e-catalogs. For example, group purchasing, where multiple buyers can buy their orders so that they constitute a large volume and attract more sellers to get a volume discount. The third model is electronic exchanges. Here you have private exchanges and public exchanges. While private exchanges have one buyer and many sellers, public exchanges independently owned by a third party and connect many buyers and many sellers. There are two types of materials in electronic exchange: direct materials such as raw materials, and indirect materials such as materials needed by a business for maintenance, operation, and repairs. Okay, next we'll move to the last section in this chapter, which is ethical and legal issues in e-business. We'll first talk about the general ethical issues before introducing legal and ethical issues specific to e-commerce. First, let's think about a few potential threats to privacy. E-business makes it easier to store and transfer personal information. In this case, to protect the buyer's identities, business must frequently use encryption to provide this protection. Also, Individuals' activities on the Internet can be easily checked by cookies that store a user's browsing history on their PC's hard drive. So, antivirus software packages must routinely search for potentially harmful cookies. Another ethical issue is the potential of job loss. The use of electronic commerce may eliminate the need for some of a company's employees, as well as brokers and agents. So there are some questions we may need to think of. For example, how should a company handle the layoffs? Should companies be required to retrain employees for new positions? Should the company compensate or otherwise assist the displaced workers? Okay, let's think about some legal and ethical issues specific to e-commerce. For example, fraud over the internet, issues related to domain names. A domain name is considered legal when the person or business who owns the name has operated a legitimate business under that name for some time. Cyber squatting. This is the practice of registering or using domain names for the purpose of profiting from the goodwill or the trademark that belongs to someone else. Issues related to taxes and other fees. Currently, federal, state, and local authorities are scrambling to create some type of taxation policy for e-business. Issues related to copyright. Intellectual property is protected by copyright laws and cannot be used freely, which is difficult to enforce online. Okay, that is the end of this chapter.